My name's Zoe. Welcome to my channel, Autistic Nana. Today, I'm going to talk about how I lost 2 jobs by being autistic, even though I didn't actually know that at the time. And I was diagnosed as autistic 2 years ago. And that's how I can retrospectively look back and realize that the 2 jobs that I actually left and lost were as a result of being autistic. So the first job was when I worked in a bank and they changed the layout of the office and they changed what I actually had to do. So we then had a situation where 3 desks were pushed together. So there were 6 of us, 3 one side, 3 the other. We had to answer the telephone, which I have a real problem with. And I now know that's because I'm autistic. We had to multitask. So at the same time as answering the telephone, we had to do basically 3 jobs that had been pulled together, and all the letters that came in with requests for those 3 jobs were in a big pile in the middle of the desk. And we had to take whatever was on top and deal with it while we were answering the phone. But there weren't enough of us to deal with all the phone calls. And there was a buzzer that went off in the room, which was incredibly loud, like one of those annoying buzzers that goes off when you walk in a shop door or something. And that was the overflow for the phone call. So you knew there were people on hold trying to get through to the bank. That buzzer went off constantly. So I'm sitting in a room now, listening to this appallingly awful noise going on and on. I'm trying to deal with a pile of paperwork that I can never get to the bottom of. And I'm a person that likes to have my work up straight every day. I can't get to the bottom of this pile. It's impossible. I'm also answering the telephone at the same time, and I absolutely can't stand answering the telephone. When I'm at work, or when I used to work, I wouldn't even go and get a cup of tea while I was at work, and I wouldn't go to the loo because I was just so focused on getting my work done. But this situation meant that I was so stressed all the time, I used to go to the toilets to cry just so I could get away from the desk. And I actually thought I was suffering from depression. So I said to my husband, I can't cope with this. It's making me really depressed. And he said, well, quit then. And I said, okay, I will. So I quit that day. And then when I got home and told my husband I'd quit, he was like, I didn't mean you could really quit. We need the money. And I'm like, well, I've handed my notice in now. So that was an interesting turnaround. But looking back now, I can see that that was sensory sensitivities causing autistic burnout. And it wasn't depression at all. I just couldn't cope with the situation that I'd been placed in. And my autistic brain couldn't cope with the noise, the phones, and the never keeping the work up straight. I just couldn't deal with it. And I actually liked working at the bank, so that was really annoying. After that, I went to work for a local council, and I found that situation really stressful. And the job caused me back pain. I have scoliosis, so I do get a lot of back pain. And the job I had to do involved lifting or sitting at a desk. And both of those things, if I'm doing them for a long time, cause me serious back pain. And I was getting stressed over that. And I didn't realise that the stress I was under was causing inflammation. And that inflammation was therefore making my back pain worse. And it was also causing neck pain, which was giving me migraines. After I'd been signed off work sick for a year, they terminated my contract. And looking back now at that, I can see that I couldn't deal with the stress of the situation. And the stress of the situation was causing the inflammation, and the inflammation was making the pain worse. So it was a vicious circle. And I think that the stress, the office, the environment I was in, all of that was because I was autistic and I didn't know. And I was working in an office where one older woman had the air conditioning turned on really low all the time. So I was constantly freezing cold. I had to answer the phone occasionally, and I can't stand answering phones. So yeah, I think part of the reason I lost that job was my scoliosis. I actually found out afterwards I had arthritis, and that was what some of the pain was. But they could never find out what the pain in the neck and the migraines was about. And I do actually think that was just the stress and the inflammation due to being autistic and not knowing I was autistic. So in celebrating my 2-year diagnosis this month, I've been looking back at my life and realising that a lot of things that have happened to me have actually been because I had no idea I was autistic. I don't know if anyone else can relate to thinking they had depression when they were actually autistic, or being in terrible pain because they were stressed, but it was actually because they were autistic. I mean, let me know in the comments below, but thanks for listening. Bye-bye.